In this tutorial, we're going to talk about how to do some initial settings in OBS for recording. So if you haven't downloaded and installed it yet, let's do it now. So launch one of the instances of the browser, type into Google OBS, hit the enter key. Hopefully the very first link will be the OBS. Click on that. It's going to take you to the OBS homepage. You will see there 3 buttons depending on the operating system you have running on your machine. Most of us, I guess, we are using Windows. So I'm using Windows. So we just click on Windows and it's going to start downloading over here. Once it finishes, click on left click on right here and it's going to start installing it. It's going to ask you a few questions. Just answer yes or next or whatever. And eventually an install button will come. Click on install and start installing. After it finishes up, click on the finish button and it's going to launch the OBS for you. I don't need to do the installation. I already have it. So I'm just going to open it up for you. When it will launch it for you the very first time, you will see it with a pop-up auto configuration wizard like that. So we need to do some settings over here. If accidentally you hit the cross button or cancel or whatever and disappears, don't worry. Go to the tools menu, click on there, and the very first option is auto configuration wizard. So it takes a few seconds for it to pop up. My machine is not so high performance. Over there, we're not interested in streaming, which is the first option. We're not interested in the virtual camera, which is the last option. We're only interested in recording the screen. So we click on the second option and hit next. Over here, the very first thing is base canvas resolution. You click on there and it's going to show you a bunch of the stuff. Now, this is where you need to select which screen you'll be recording. So I have at the moment 2 screens in my system. One is the default laptop screen, and I've also plugged in an external 23-inch monitor. So generally I like which appears as display 2. So my default laptop monitor appears as display 1 and its resolution is shown as 1366 by 768, and my external monitor's resolution is shown as 1600 by 900. So generally I prefer to display my presentation or to run a slideshow of my presentation on my external monitor, which is a bigger one, and record that one for my lectures. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I prefer to record my laptop monitor because it has all of the OS settings over here as well that I wanted to demonstrate to you. So I'm going to pick display 1 with the resolution 1366 by 768, which is my default laptop monitor, which is what you're seeing at the moment. Then the next option is FPS or frames per second. Click on that, and 30 is a very good option. We don't need to go beyond that. Hit next and it shows you the summary. That's we're done with the auto wizard. Hit on the apply settings button, and there's some more settings we need to do. We're not done yet. Go to the file menu and hit on select the settings option. Over here we'll jump directly to the output menu on the left. Click on there. The output mode is shown as simple at the moment. Click on it to drop down the list and select advanced. Not interested in streaming, directly click on recording, and from there the option you see over here is recording path. You can go and change that. I suggest you don't do that, leave it the way it is, and that this is the path where all your recordings made on OBS will actually go. And later I'm going to show you how to retrieve those recordings as well, but you can always go into that path and retrieve it. Next, recording format by default is selected as MKV, a native format for OBS, but we are interested in selecting or changing it to MP4. So click on that and select MP4. Finally, encoder. It shows the current value as use stream encoder. Click on it and select quick sync H.264. When you do that, a bunch of other options pop up. Don't worry about anything else except for bitrate. The bitrate determines the quality of your recording. If it's too low, it's poor quality. If it's too high, it's going to be a big load on the resources and unnecessary load. So by default, it shows you 2500. We like to change it to 4000, which is good enough. 4,000 kilobits per second. All right, next we go to, all right, just over here in the same menu, go to audio. And since we're using only one track, one audio track is checked, the other are unchecked, we go over here and we select for track 1 the bitrate, the audio bitrate from 160 to 192, and this is good enough. On the left menu, go to audio. The very first thing you see is sample rate, which is selected as 48 kilohertz. Click on it, drop down and select 44.1 kilohertz, which is good enough. It's CD, considered a CD quality audio rate, sample rate. There's no need to move to 48 kilohertz. You will not feel any quality difference, but it will take a bigger file, make a bigger file size. Next, make sure everything here in the global audio devices is disabled. So I've got desktop audio as default. Probably you will get the same settings. I'll move it, click on it and select disable. The third one, mic auxiliary audio, also selected default. I'm going to click and select disable. Everything else is already disabled. Then we're going to go to video. All right. Base canvas resolution, it should be what you've already selected in the auto configuration wizard, so you don't need to worry about that. Second is output resolution. If it is not 1280 by 720 with the aspect ratio of 16:9, you can always click on it or highlight it and manually type these things: 1280 x 720. As you do that, it's gonna bring the aspect ratio to 16:9. This is, in YouTube's term, is known as 720p video quality, which basically means the output video will be recorded at 1280 pixels wide and 720 pixels high, which is good enough. And I suggest we do not go below that, because then some of the things will not be so clearly visible in lectures. And 720 is good enough. I don't think we need to go anything beyond that as well, because the higher resolution you pick, the bigger the file size will be. Frame value, frame per second, should be as you selected before in the auto configuration wizard, as 30, and we don't need to change it. And everything else should remain the same. We hit apply and hit OK. When you do that, it asks it asks for the OBS Studio to be restarted. Click yes, and when it relaunches, in my case, it's giving this warning. In your case, it will not. It will just relaunch the system. That's because I already have an OBS version running on the other screen, which you don't see at the moment, which is in fact recording all of these things. So I'm running 2 instances of OBS, and this is what it is warning about, that OBS is already running. Do you want to launch another one? And I say yes, launch anyway. At this point, you're good to go. We've done all the major or macro settings in the OBS, and we are good to move on to the next tutorial.